Press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
Hello and welcome to NL Interviews. As you can see, we are in lockdown right now. This is day 3 of the lockdown in India, and coronavirus is a pandemic that is affecting around 3 billion people who are in lockdown across the world right now. I just checked. And, things are getting a little crazy. We are in crisis mode right now. And what this has forced us to do is get a little existential about where we are going, where the species is going. I mean, or maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I guess everybody has a lot of questions. So we thought, it would be a good time to talk to a person who would be able to guide us through this anxiety ridden situation. So please welcome Erin Lee to NL Interviews. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Meghnad. Hi.
Hi. Erin is a mindfulness coach, and
Mhm.
she is the founder and CEO of an organization called Mindful Moments. And she is based in Singapore right now. And we were just comparing notes about what is the situation there and what is the situation here. So I'll just let Erin tell us what it's like in Singapore right now.
Right. So, from what I observe, I think we're not in lockdown, but we're doing a lot of safety measures right now. So we're advised not to travel. A lot of people are on stay-home notice, and we're practicing a lot of social distancing, safe distancing, and the rules have just kicked in. So I think everyone is adapting to that. And from what I see, everything is going pretty orderly at the moment, and generally we are quite understanding of the situation and quite compliant so far. Yeah.
Right. So Erin, please tell us a little bit about what you do and also about mindfulness.
Yes. Okay. So let's maybe start with mindfulness first, just to get an understanding of what that is. Essentially, mindfulness is it's primarily a practice of awareness, and you can also see it as a form of attention training. So it's always about where our attention is and how do we navigate our attention. So in mindfulness, we actually practice being or paying attention to the present moment. What is present for us right now? And this could include being aware of our internal environment and what's going on in our external environment. So this is essentially what I'm teaching people as a mindfulness coach.
You said internal environment and external environment. How does that work? What is the difference between the two?
Yes. So internal environments would be everything that's happening within us. So when we're talking about having mindful awareness of our internal environments ourselves, we're essentially referring to understanding our state of body, being aware of our state of mind, and the behaviors that we conduct, the actions that we do. And when you're talking about external environments, you're talking about being aware of the people around you, the immediate environment, the situations around you. And then there's always this awareness of the exchange between these two. So how might my external environment be impacting me, and vice versa? How might my own state of mind or state of body or actions or behaviors be affecting the people around me, for example?
So, as you mentioned, how is the external environment affecting me? Right now, it's affecting me very badly, I must say.
Okay, in what way?
As in badly in the sense that, so I have been personally in lockdown for around 12 days now. Personally,
Right.
I've been inside the house.
Yes.
And me and my wife are both inside the house, and we have been obviously we have given everybody offs, as in day offs. Our help has gone back home, and all of the people who were our support system, we have paid them in advance for 2 months and we have sent them off. And of course there's a element of loneliness, I guess. I mean, we have each other, but then there are situations when you sort of have these moments of temper, I guess, where you're in lockdown and you flare up suddenly, and then you're where did that come from, right?
Okay.
And I realize there is some element of stress involved or
Mm.
anxiety involved. So can you
Yes.
do you think that is happening to a lot of people? Because I've been talking to a bunch of my friends and they're saying we are behaving in extremely weird ways because we haven't gone out, and we like suddenly flare up, and like we are seeing
Mm.
things in ourselves which we didn't know exist. Is
Yes.
this
Well, I think this is definitely happening. Although in Singapore right now, we're not seeing, I've not seen much of an outburst or flaring up of tempers. Maybe it's because we're not on lockdown and we're still free to go out. It's just that we're advised to stay at home. But definitely with just being cooped up at home or in one place and just not being able to connect with people and just going out, I think this invites a lot of restlessness in us, right? Some of us
right?
may feel
Right.
restless, we feel bored, unstimulated at home. And you're right about the anxiety because it's not just about being on lockdown, it's a matter of when might this end, right? We may
Right.
not be
Right.
able to see a conclusion so soon. So a lot of times we are simply just we start to imagine the worst case scenarios. We are facing our fears. We're facing uncertainty and a lot of risks. And I also know that a lot of us, our livelihoods are being affected at the
Hmm.
moment because
Hmm.
of the economy, with events being cancelled and everything. So understandably, we may be feeling all these emotions. And this is where mindfulness could come in because we are learning to be aware of these emotions without being too attached or too engaged with them. So when we are noticing this fear in us, so the first step is always to notice it, to know that it's happening, right? So you mentioned about, just having an outburst or flaring up. So if you know that you're flaring up at someone, just being able to track your experience of that and notice the moments before you're about to have your outburst. What's going on
Right.
inside? How am I
Hmm.
able to keep my calm, ground myself, and regulate my emotions? I think that this kind of skill will come in really handy right now for all of us.
Exactly. And it's not just about just of course the financial situation is something to worry about, and I'm sure a lot of
Yes.
people are also worried about their jobs now because
Mm.
as I was saying, like to give you one example, our platform Newslaundry is a completely subscriber funded independent media organization. So we were
Yes.
just having a discussion about how ad funded media will work in times like
Mm.
these, right?
Mm-hmm.
Newspapers have shut down.
Yes.
I mean, the first income source of newspapers is advertisement, and if you're not
Mm-hmm.
circulating newspapers, then what are you doing even, right?
Yes.
So in a situation like this, a lot of people are worried about job losses. Plus
Mm-hmm.
there are all these updates constantly coming to them about coronavirus, which are scary to say the
Yes.
least. um,
Mm-hmm.
so can you tell us, in how will mindfulness help in this scenario, and what should a person do to
Mm.
get rid of this anxiety and also
Mm.
just be at peace, I guess?
Right, right. So first of all, I just wanted to zoom in on the words "get rid of." And so, when we experience negative emotions or unpleasantness, the very first thing, the very first instinct is to want to get rid of it, right?
Hmm.
And this is actually counterintuitive to mindfulness, right? Or mindfulness is actually not about getting rid of unpleasant emotions and purposefully inviting pleasant ones. We are essentially simply observing ourselves in this process. If a negative emotion comes to us, like anxiety, we simply notice, we're aware of that, and we observe it without allowing it to exacerbate. Or let's say a negative thought comes in, like, oh, I'm going to lose my job, what am I going to do? So these are worrying thoughts that keep coming, and we have to be aware of it and observe these thoughts without allowing ourselves to spiral down into this whole negativity. And I think this is really important right now, especially when we're so tuned into news, to social media. Every day, every minute, there's like news updates just bombarding us. So we can feel really overwhelmed. We can feel
Yeah.
really fatigued. So in a time like this, how are we able to remain calm and just regain our sense of balance and just being able to discern, mindfully discern, how much of these news should I take in? right? And how am I managing all these? Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been actually actively trying, and actually I've also like been reading. I think through the last year I've been reading up a lot about mindfulness and
Mm,
about practicing it, and I've been trying meditation as well and failing at it
okay.
spectacularly. Like, but I keep trying. I guess that's the whole point.
Yeah.
But and so there are these apps which have these guided meditation sort of
Mm-hmm.
scenarios, and you go through it, etc.
Mm.
Initially I just fell asleep, but
Okay.
now I'm getting to a point where at least I'm able to focus for say 4 minutes, and that has been my
Mm.
maximum, which is
Okay.
uh, which people say is impressive, but when I say it myself, it doesn't sound impressive at all. But
Okay.
the thing is that like in a time like this, what is the one advice you are giving people? Like, are you advising meditation? And if people want to, how do they go about it? Are these apps a good thing, or do you think there is another way to do this?
Mm. Okay. How do we practice mindfulness meditation in a time like this? So, the first thing that I want to share is that, in times of crisis, we really, really do need mindfulness, right? It
Yeah.
really keeps us in check. It's like we're constantly checking in on ourselves and our surroundings just to make sure everything is more balanced and everything is all right. So this is very much needed at this point. And there's also something to consider. Mindfulness is not a tool. It is not a tool that we pull out of our toolbox to say, hey, now there's a crisis and let's hammer this down. It doesn't
Right.
work like that. Mindfulness is like a skill. And I often akin this to learning how to swim. So I always ask people, why do you learn to swim? So,
Yeah.
Meghnad, why do you learn to swim? Do you know how to swim?
Yeah, I do. To not
Yeah.
drown. To not drown.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
yes,
essentially it. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, essentially we learn, it's a skill that we learn so that we can save ourselves in maybe in situations where we could be drowning, right?
Yeah.
But then do you only learn to swim when you're in a drowning situation?
No, I mean, I did learn to swim because it's also exercise, and plus
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm in a situation one day where I will drown, so I will just maybe be able
Yes.
to like survive, I
Yes,
guess.
absolutely. Yeah. So to prepare for that, you actually do learn to swim in a safe environment, right?
Right.
You're
Right.
in a pool and then you practice every day. So the more you practice, the better you get at it. So that it comes to a point where if you are really in that situation, you're able to keep yourself afloat.
Yeah.
So this goes for mindfulness as well, because it's a skill, and the more you practice it, the more readily you will be able to employ this in situations of emotional crisis. Right? So
Right.
a little goes a long way to get started on this. So starting to practice mindfulness every day, um, it could be as simple as 1 minute a day, 5 minutes a day, and then you slowly build up your practice from there. So from your experience just now, 4 minutes, I think it's great. I think it's great, and keep up with that. Keep up with that. And really, mindfulness is a lot more adaptable and flexible than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
So in mindfulness meditation, we encourage you to practice it in various postures. And it's supposed to be integrated in our day-to-day life. So in any posture, like when you're sitting on a chair right now, so you can practice mindfulness right here, right now. If you were lying in bed and you were worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, is my job safe, right? You're in the lying down posture, you can practice mindfulness.
Right.
You are queuing up to buy something. Yes.
It's
Sorry.
all about sort of being aware of your emotional state, about what thoughts are going through your head. And I mean, that is my understanding of this. And I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes,
but
sure.
it's about being aware of your, as you said, internal environment and how the external environment is affecting you. And so, as you said, like in moments of crisis, right? For instance, when people feel anxious, when they're getting bombarded by these news, is it so easy to switch off though, or go into that mode of mindfulness? Because I mean, personally, I've been finding it very difficult.
Okay. So I mentioned mindfulness is a skill, right?
Yeah.
So it is really an attentional skill. So let's take this scenario. Let's say you're bombarded by worrying thoughts about what's going to happen tomorrow. So I don't know if you've heard about this, but mindfulness, a lot of people say mindfulness is about being in the present, right?
Yeah.
Paying attention to the present moment. So what does this really mean? So when we're bombarded with thoughts about the future, imagining the worst case scenarios that could happen, we're not present. We're essentially, our mind, our attention is essentially in the future. And not only is it in the future, we are stuck in the future if we're not able to come back, right? So we have this incessant, endless worrying, and it could spiral out of control. So mindfulness is really about this cognitive skill, being able to bring ourselves back from the past or the future, from obsessing about past or future, back into the present moment as and when we need to. So it's not about switching off. It's not about switching off. It's really about the flexibility of your attention. Are you able to come back? So there are different ways to do this, of course. And one of the ways is to just be aware of what is present, for example, in your body or in your immediate surroundings, opening your senses to what is here. So when your attention is in the present, it can't be obsessing about things in the past or in the future. So this is one way that we keep ourselves in check in times like this.
Right. Okay. I want to also know, like, I mean, right now it's an extraordinary situation. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are considering, mindfulness and learning the skill that you described. And it's interesting how, during such times we sort of realize and we get to know ourselves a lot more. Because on a daily basis, when you are going to work, when you're commuting, when you're with like other people, you do not really think about what is going on inside your head much. But now that you have like this extended time of just alone, you're just sitting alone and just doing your work or doing whatever or watching things or etc., it just makes you think about things. Do you think even after this crisis, this will actually help in a way? And I know this is like a very weird way of putting it, but like, do you think crisis actually breeds more self-awareness?
Does crisis breed more self-awareness? I think crisis offers us the opportunity to practice this, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I know not everyone has the luxury to practice it as ideally as we want to, but of course, this can happen in time of crisis, and we encourage this definitely. So we have more time on our hands now, and just now you mentioned just thinking, right? And I would say that with mindfulness, we are actually encouraging you, instead of thinking, of obsessing with thoughts, to just practice being aware of these thoughts. And really, in times like this, we need to know how to practice this effectively so that we benefit from it.
Right. And can you just give our viewers a little, maybe the first tip to getting started at this, and like what is it that you advise people generally in times like this? I'm pretty sure you're getting a lot of calls like these. Like right now we are just doing an interview, but I'm pretty sure you're doing like calls and calls of anxious, anxiety ridden people. Like, what do I do? I'm so anxious, so scared.
All right.
What is the first advice you give them?
Right. I think in times like this, especially when you haven't gotten started on this yet, it's important to have support, to have guidance and support. And I'm seeing a lot of mindfulness teachers, meditation teachers, and me included, just taking this opportunity to step in and just offer some of our services, our guidance, free practice sessions online. So I see a lot of these resources available online by so many teachers. So we can all make use of that. Apps are here for us to use. Resources online, you can read about mindfulness and everything. But what is really important in getting started is the actual practice itself.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
We have to begin practicing, right? One easy way to get us practicing being in the present moment, I think, for beginners would be just to open your senses. because our
Okay.
senses are part of our body and a reminder for us that we are here, that we are present. So the
Right.
moment that we're aware of what our senses are taking in, we're practicing this kind of mindful awareness of the present moment.
Right.
Okay.
So as
So yes.
can you elaborate that a little bit more? As in like what do you mean like aware of our senses? Like as in like
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Right. So maybe I can pose this question to you, Meghnad. Have you had breakfast today?
Not yet, but I'm
Not
going to
yet.
right now. Not yet, no.
Okay.
Not
Okay. Have you
yet.
had a drink or first coffee or
Yes, I
something?
did. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Can you remember how you drank that coffee?
Can I remember? Can I remember the taste? Can I remember? I can remember the
Okay.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
remember the taste. I drank it
Mm.
slowly. I think I was not really aware when I was drinking it because I was also on a call with our producer Aditya while I was doing it.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
I don't really remember, to be honest. Just the
Yes,
taste.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So with these simple routine activities that we do every day, something as simple as drinking our first cup of coffee or tea of the day or having our breakfast, you find that we are not aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
And likely our mind is busy working and miles away. So you can imagine that we're just going through the everyday life just on what we call an autopilot, right? We're
yeah,
basically thinking, worrying nonstop, and we're not paying attention to what is present. So as we're having our breakfast or drinking our first cup of tea or coffee, we are not with that cup of coffee. We're somewhere else,
right.
right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
one practice that we could start with is something as simple as opening your five senses to the coffee. So what do you see, right? The color of the coffee. What do you smell? So bringing the mug to your nose and just taking in the fragrance, the aroma of the coffee, right? Tasting it, noticing the temperature, noticing the way that you're swallowing it down, noticing the warmth in your body, things like that. So it doesn't have to be a very long practice. It can just be the very first sip or the first 1 or 2 minutes, and you're good. And this is a good start.
essentially like treat everything like wine tasting. Like treat everything around you like wine tasting, and you're an expert of wine tasting. So
Well, yes, but I want to clarify that I actually don't recommend practicing mindfulness with alcohol
alcohol,
because
yeah.
it
I
changes the
mean,
state of our brain and
yes,
body, and it's just not conducive at all. Yeah.
yes. I mean, thank you for clarifying that. I mean, like,
Yes,
right,
yes. But you
I
can
guess,
practice it with any other beverage.
yeah,
Your breakfast, you can practice it while brushing your teeth, while taking a shower, anything,
yeah.
anything.
Or just drinking
Yeah.
water, I guess. Like, how does the water taste?
Yes, yes,
That would be interesting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's great. Again, like, thank you so much for taking out the time, Erin, and
You're
thank you
very
so
welcome.
much for like, telling our viewers how to deal with this situation. Is there anything else that you want to add at the end, and then we will end this?
Mm. Well, I think the only thing that I would like to say is that I think there's definitely a silver lining to this global pandemic and crisis that we're facing. I think we're all, trying our best to just persevere through this, and I think we're all doing great so far from what I
Right.
observe. And just know that um, we're all here to support one another, and mindfulness is one of the approaches that you can go with. And this resource is readily available for you, not just externally, but internally. It's an internal capacity that we all have to be aware, and it's never too late to start.
Right. Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
taking out
Magnet.
the time, and please be
Thank you for
safe.
having me. Thank you.
Please
Please
be
stay
safe.
well too. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.